Hey there! Are you trying to decide where to live in the Washington, D.C. area and you are wondering about Northern Virginia? Well, I have 7 pros and 3 cons that I want you to know about before you consider moving here. So I am Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. I do these videos for you every week and I break down living in DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia. So if that is your thing, you should subscribe. I go deeper than anybody and I don't use any AI. I use no artificial intelligence. I'm writing everything myself. So you want to make sure that you don't miss anything. Hit subscribe. So one thing to note here about Northern Virginia, my partner Michael and I, he's not here today, he's out showing houses. He and I do a lot of videos on Northern Virginia and the different areas and the towns and cities and everything. And we break a lot of that down very, very deeply. So I definitely want you to check those out too, especially once you've narrowed down to the areas that you're interested in. Today we're going to do an overall of just Northern Virginia. It's not even county specific, it's Northern Virginia specific. So we'll talk a little bit about the different counties, tiny bit. Now let's start with the pros because there's a lot of them, so let's do those first. All right, so let's start first with location. So Northern Virginia is amazing for both its proximity to like everything locally that you could possibly need, as well as in the country. So we have 2 major airports that service Northern Virginia. We've got Dulles, which is for international flights. That is about an hour west of DC. And then we have Reagan, which is Reagan National Airport. Some people call it National, some call it Reagan. There's still a statue of Ronnie at the front of the airport, so name hasn't been dropped yet. And that handles all of the domestic flights. So a significant part of Northern Virginia actually lies inside the Beltway. So these areas that are inside the Beltway include Arlington County, the city of Alexandria, and parts of Fairfax. Now, being inside the Beltway was long considered like the gold standard for, where to live because it was the most commutable to Washington, D.C., as well as to the suburbs if needed. Now, as things have changed, though, Northern Virginia has really proven itself to be very, very, very business friendly. Tyson's Corner and the Dulles Corridor are essentially these huge employment centers. So that means that traffic doesn't necessarily just trend in one direction like it does in a lot of metro areas. So decades ago, it did that. A lot of the stuff went to downtown DC, some stuff went to Tyson's, but for the most part, people were all commuting in one direction. It's not like that anymore. So commutes, they happen in all directions here. It's kind of wild. And that really means that you're going to have multiple options when you're trying to decide where to live and when you're sort of mapping out where you work and how that's going to look for you. Number 2 in the pros are jobs. So that's sort of related to what we were talking about with location. There are over 200 corporate headquarters that are located in Northern Virginia. So they all provide a robust and stable employment opportunities for people who live in and commute to the area. The largest industries that you're going to see here are, as expected, government contractors and then technology, but there's also decent representation for nonprofits, think tanks, real estate, consumer goods, media, finance, education, communications. You've got companies here that you might have heard of. I think Google, a few of you have heard of, Amazon, Mars, which is sort of like the one that nobody knows, but they're not public. So the Mars family has kept the company private, and M&Ms, we love our M&Ms in this house. Peanut M&Ms is what we get. Capital One is here. They are on a massive tear of hiring. I have several people moving here that are working for Capital One and have jobs there. Accenture, Northrop Grumman, Motley Fool, Rosetta Stone, USA Today, Hilton, Freddie Mac, Interstate Hotels, Sunrise Senior Living are all among the companies that call Northern Virginia their home. So the third thing that is a definite pro is transportation. Now, the western areas of Northern Virginia, notably anything past Fairfax County, used to seem so far away, and it could really only be reached by driving. The Orange Line for our metro here went to Vienna, and that was the end. Now we have the Silver Line, and Loudoun County is in the northernmost part of Fairfax County. They are like they've been loving the Silver Line, right? So the Silver Line was added and those areas welcomed it with 4 stops in McLean, 2 stops in Reston, 2 stops in Herndon, and then 3 stops in Loudoun County. The last stop on the Silver Line is Ashburn, which is an incredibly popular suburb of Washington, D.C. And this was a windfall for Ashburn property values because houses that seemingly were just your average run-of-the-mill house, they're over $1 million now. And so this has really helped bolster everything. You can also take the metro to Dulles, which is amazing because you didn't used to be able to do that either. So that has been an unbelievable boon for Northern Virginia. Now, number 4 is climate. So it is thankfully pretty mild here. Our summers do get hot, so expect to wear shorts for maybe May, but definitely June, July, August, and September. Hats and gloves are going to be out December, January, and February. We have 4 seasons here. Actually, I'm lying to you. We have 12 seasons here. Locals say that we have 12 seasons. I'm going to tell you what they are because they're amazing. They are winter, fool's spring, second winter, spring of deception, third winter, that's 5, the pollinating, actual spring, summer, hell's front porch, false fall, second summer, and then actual fall. Seasons like actual spring and actual fall, they last for 45 minutes. It's amazing. You won't believe it till you see it. The trees are all beautiful, and then one icy storm comes through, and bam, everything's gone, and hello, winter. Now, our winters are usually not too bad, though. We don't often get weather below 20 degrees, and that's Fahrenheit. Summers, we can get to 100, but it usually tops out like in the 90s. We did have a heat wave this past summer, though. It was rough for some people here, for sure. It was those kind of days where they were like, keep the young, keep the pets, keep the elderly inside. Do not let them outside. Number 5 on the list of pros for Northern Virginia is education. So people here are smart. According to Forbes, Arlington, Virginia is the 2nd most highly educated city in the country. I know, I called Arlington a county earlier. It's a county. People call it a city. It's everything. Arlington is just Arlington. According to a website called Overflow Data, the highest educated counties are, in order, Falls Church City, Arlington County. This is for the whole country, by the way. The 3rd is Los Alamos, New Mexico. The 4th is the city of Alexandria. The 5th is Fairfax County. The 6th is Howard County, Maryland. And the 7th is Loudoun County. Virginia holds 5 of the top 7 spots, and one of the other 2 is in Howard County, which is suburban DC. Kind of amazing. All right, the school systems, continuing on that Smarty Smarts path for the kiddos, are top-notch. Fairfax and Loudoun County schools, very strong across the board. The college options in Virginia are also quite awesome, but worth highlighting here is something that a lot of people maybe don't think about. You get a preference, Virginia residents get a preference for UVA. UVA is a top university. It's as darn close as you're going to get to an Ivy League without actually being physically situated in New England. So I have an in-depth video on Fairfax County schools, which you can check out if you want to know more about that. Number 6, diversity in residents and also food, right? They go hand in hand. Where there is diversity, there is also a wide variety of options for the eats. The diverse population in the area, the whole area, results in huge benefits for everybody. Everything from schools, which will showcase events educating kids on other cultures and doing international days and things like that. You will also never be bored with all of the great restaurant options. Beyond the usual finds of American, Italian, Mexican, you are going to find in Northern Virginia Ethiopian food, Indian, Greek represent, Balkan, German, Turkish, Thai, Korean, Yemeni, Afghani, it's all here. There are restaurants in almost every single community where you will find this like old world feel that somebody brought here from their home country, and you can seriously taste like the love and the pride in their food. It's unbelievable. It's something that if I ever left this area, I would really miss it. I don't know that I can live without. I had Ethiopian food yesterday and the day before. All the time, and Afghan food all the time. All right, number 7 is recreation. So the outdoor recreation between the trails, the bike paths, and parks is unbelievable. Each county also has their own recreational program where you can get inexpensive access to great fitness classes, pools, water parks, gym facilities. I cannot stress to you how awesome the offerings are. We've actually been lucky enough to take advantage of several different classes when they open up to non-county residents. So we've done that in Arlington because Arlington's close to where we live. We can get there pretty easily. Now, all of this is amazing, right? And you are ready to move here. I see you packing your bags. But we do need to cover some of the cons. So I want to talk about those. So the cons of living in Northern Virginia, there are not a lot of negatives about living here, but there's a few that you should be aware of. First, and you probably already assumed this, is traffic. If you live west of DC and you're commuting to DC by car, you are going to be driving east in the morning and west at night. So you're going to be probably wondering, why am I giving you a geography lesson? Well, when you're driving east, it's because you're facing the sun. And then when you're going home, you're facing west and also the sun. So you should just think about that sunrise and sunset. If you're always going to be driving into the blinding sun, you just have to know that there will be traffic. And there are so many different employment areas, though, that this isn't all bad. Many roads lead to many places. You can find alternatives to hop on in an effort to alleviate a bad commute. But you should also know that many roads also turn into toll roads in Virginia. With that overhead easy pass, you have to have your transponder. So traffic can not only be bad, but it can be costly. So I talked in another video about this, but I accidentally hopped on 66 when it was like rush hour time. And I was heading out to a workout class and I got charged $17 to go 4 miles. It was terrible. So sometimes the prices, like I said, you can drive 10 miles, it will cost over $20. So make sure that you watch those overhead signs before you just blindly hop onto a highway, because you may choose to do something different. Number 2 is the cost of living. So it is expensive here. It is really hard to get a good house that is move-in ready under $800,000. And even at that, sometimes the houses in the 8s and 9s need some help. Prices stay strong though here, thanks to, like I was saying, the job market and the demand to live in Northern Virginia. Some areas are definitely more expensive. So moving into a place like Falls Church City, McLean, or Vienna for under $1 million is nearly impossible. But there are more affordable areas like Burke and West Springfield and Fairfax, and the schools there are fantastic too, and you can get a house that is in the 6 digits. Not over $1 million. As far as taxes go, that's something else to think about. Virginia for income tax basically has a flat tax. It's like anybody over 17, 18 grand makes anything above that, you're paying 5.75%. You're also going to have property taxes depending on the county or city where you live. One thing to note, though, unlike Maryland, the cities and counties operate entirely separately in Virginia. So if you're in Falls Church City, you are not in a county. You're just in the city. That's the only jurisdiction that you report to, that you're responsible for dealing with and all of that. Same thing with the city of Alexandria. You're not in a county. A lot of times people think that that's within Fairfax County. It's not. Fairfax County is completely separate. And there is an Alexandria in Fairfax County, which also confuses people. So cities are totally on their own. You're not going to get huge variations in property taxes here, really, no matter where you live. But just know that these demarcation lines do exist, so you do have to check each individual area. One other sneaky trick in Virginia is the personal property tax. What's that, Melissa? Well, it's the bane of many people's existence. It is a tax on your cars, RVs if you have them, planes if you have them, and boats if you have them. They calculate the value off of the NADA book value. So you can't just say my cousin Bob sold me this car for $5 and they're going to tax you on the $5 sale. Doesn't work like that. They're no joke. They're like a $5 tax for $100 of assessed value. You're going to pay $1,200, $1,500 for your car, most likely, if it's relatively new. If you drive a clunker, then no, you're going to be all good. The third thing that you need to know about that is a con is space. So they like to build things in Virginia, and they don't often give much thought to something that the rest of the world calls lot setbacks or side yard setbacks. So what this can mean is that in some of these newer communities, you can borrow sugar from your neighbor by knocking on their kitchen window from inside your kitchen. All right, it's not that bad, but it feels like it, and it certainly can look like it. So when people go look at new communities, and the model home's always the first to go up, they'll go look at it and they're like, this is amazing, look at all the light that it gets, this is awesome. But then if you go back to that community 2 years later when everything's all built out, it's kind of like pretty maids all in a row. I mean, these houses do not have a lot of square footage between them, and so not a lot of light can get down into all those beautiful, gorgeous windows a lot of times. So it can get pretty dark. So just know that, and I hope that this video and gave you all the details that you need to consider your move to Northern Virginia. I will tell you, it's a pretty awesome place for people to live. People tend to stay here a long time. They build roots here, and if that is your plan, my contact info is coming next.